More than 70% of owned businesses fail to survive a succession. Do not look away. Do not turn this off. We'll have the tough conversation and then maybe you'll send that email to your attorney and get this on the books. I'm Lisa Smith, and this is Focus on Business. Lori, you work with thousands of business owners. We're talking about the most ignored part of business today, succession planning. What is the worst case scenario? What can we say to get people to finally get this in place?
Well, there's several facets of succession planning, planning for your business, but I can tell you SBAM experienced one firsthand, and it has required us to start asking vendors that we work with different questions. So what happened to us was a few years ago, we had a mobile app developer. It was a technical company out of Oakland, Michigan, and they were providing us an app product. The owner in his late 40s died suddenly. He had 8 employees. He was the sole salesperson. He was the sole business development person. He ran the office and was single. There was no family to take over the business, and the business closed its doors. Even worse for us as a customer is we had no way to maintain or support our app that we had, as well as other customers. We were able to find a different organization to help us with that transition. But the fact is the business closed its doors, all the assets were given to other companies, and the employees lost their jobs. So really the worst case scenario that any business owner would want to have to a business that they have grown and developed.
Well, I think that the moral of the story is it's not just the owner that's affected. It's customers, employees, families. It goes on and on and on. So we're going to deal with that today. We're going to talk about really the greater implications of and a process for succession planning.
And it's a great topic. Again, many facets, whether you want to sell your business, whether you want to know what do I need to do in 10 years to sell our business. We know there are thousands of baby boomers out there that will be selling their business in the next 2 years. They need help.
We've got help.
Great.
Thanks. Here with me today is Jessica Starks, President and CEO of Transworld Business Advisors, and Ginny Sharrow, owner of Fenton Winery and Brewery. So succession planning is one of the most frequently ignored activities by business owners. This procrastination creates real problems with succession, sowing confusion, and ultimately, it makes transition less likely. I think that a lot of business owners ignore this. Succession planning isn't just deciding in 5 or 10 years you want to move out of your business. It comes from a lot of different triggers. Can you talk about what some of those triggers are?
Yeah, so I get calls all the time of people wanting to sell their business because they're going through a divorce, or they're disabled, or a family member passed away. They're burnt out. The business cash flow isn't as great as it should be, and they can't afford it anymore. So those are more difficult ways to sell your business than if you're proactive and have a succession plan in place.
Yeah, so being proactive probably also comes in lots of different forms. Ginny, you own a really cool company. Why don't you just tell us a little bit about your company, and then where are you at with succession planning?
Sure. I own Fenton Winery and Brewery, and we produce wine and beer, and we sell it in our public tap room and in our banquet facility. So we have quite a bit going on with our company, and for me, the trigger was what will happen to my company if something happened to me or my husband as the founders and owner-operators. That was really my trigger.
You're probably working in the business every day, very hard, head down, I know you've experienced a lot of growth.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, so we're really involved in the business on daily operations, in everything, all the decisions, but it really, for me, I wanted to make sure that the business was there to support my employees and to support my family if something happened to Matt and I.
I actually am going through that same kind of journey myself. There's no reason for me to succession plan right now. I'm a decade away from retirement, but I do feel like, we did have a family event that made me think about what if I couldn't get back to my business, in a timely fashion. And so it is something that I think about, and we have to think about how we're going to structure the company today in order to make it something that can be utilized by a sale or a family member or something in the future. And we're actually thinking about a trust. So, but there's lots of things to do to prepare for this. You know, you don't just it's not like a house where you put it on the MLS and then off you go. You have to prepare some things. And Jessica, this is your business, right? You do succession planning for businesses.
Yes, I meet with business owners all the time to talk to them about what it looks like to sell your business. What is that end game going to look like for them? And there's so many things that business owners need to keep in mind when they're planning to get the most value or most out of their business when they transition it. So of course you can transition it to family members, you can transition it to key employees, you could transition it to external parties as well, but you really need to get your business ready to sell or be ready to sell at any time during your growth process. And there's many ways that I can share that you can do that.
Yeah, that's how it was for me. Not ready to sell or anything, but for me, I wanted to make sure and start working on that. We've already been working on it for years to document processes and make sure that other people can do the operations and it can continue on.
Yeah, as you experience growth, you know, when you are first stage or startup entrepreneur, the owner has everything in their head. You hire a person, you've been doing the accounting, the invoicing, you try to hand that off, it's all in your head. You transition that to somebody else, but you might not necessarily write it down and transition it. You tell someone else how to do it. They leave, you tell the next person how to do it. So those processes are really important. For what I've been thinking about, and I don't know if I'm doing this right or not, but in order to increase or stabilize the value of the company that I have, what I believe has to happen is I need to be less pivotal. So for example, in my business, a lot of the relationships are my personal relationships because I get very close to our customer base. We spend a lot of time together and I do the selling and people refer to me because I'm the owner. And so I'm trying to transition myself away from sales so much and be that kind of visionary where everybody can run the company with or without me.
Yeah, so we had to go through that transition. When we first started, it was just Matt and I working the bar and getting to know all of our customers. And we had to go through that transition of hiring people and, you know, empowering them and training them and putting processes in place so that they could become the customer's face, you know, friends at the bar. So it's actually been a really fun transition, you know. It's great to employ people and to build a business.
And Jenny, your work-life balance is more balanced now, and
Yes.
quality of life, you're not there
Yes.
probably so many hours. So it's more than just you and your husband. You've created
Yes.
something.
Yeah,
That's
what
great.
started as 2 is now 30. So, and we want to
Yeah,
ensure
wow.
that the business continues.
Yeah.
And at the same time allows us to be more visionaries instead of being in the grind. So
Right.
succession planning is kind of the benefit of all the planning that we've done, but the real value for us is actually being able to work on our business instead of in our business.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the end game is the end. So it's
Yeah.
the during that you find so much increase in value for yourself. So what are buyers looking for? What are the things that, let's say you are burnout or you've come to, you know, you've done that great plan and you decide it's time for something new to happen and you want to put your business on the market. How does that happen even?
Yeah. So I would say ways to increase the value of your business. You know, your business is your baby. You want the most out of it. You want it to be taken over by somebody who you trust and there's a relationship there. So buyers are looking for good books and records. If you have your shoebox and you're going to hand it over to them or you're sticking cash away, you're not going to get as much bang for your buck when you sell your business. So keeping good books and records is number one of the most important ways to increase the value of your business. Also, we've already touched on this, but making it more than the owner or the seller to have a management team in place that you can step away. You know, it's not Joe's such and such. It will be, you know, this business that I'm selling, not, you know, me that I'm selling. You know, really taking in consideration owner benefits. So how much are you trying to write off to show better for tax purposes versus really, you know, should you be showing more profit so you can sell your business more? Or just having those clear expense columns, you know, of what you're making as a wage or taking as, you know, your auto. just make that a clearer picture for the buyer to see. People want to see good growth in their revenues, not a decline in revenues. That makes it really difficult to sell a business when we're over that peak and we're starting to go down. That's when a seller wants to sell. It's best to sell when times are good. We're in a great economy right now. Businesses have recovered from the last recession. Now is a great time to sell a business.
Most common buyers, who would they be? Is it strangers? Is it staff, family? Who most commonly is going to buy a company? Now you're kind of a business, could go to a big conglomerate, right?
Yeah,
Potentially.
Yeah, a competitor,
I
maybe.
see.
But for us, I think that our management team would probably be best, fit, because we have a very specialized business. It's, there are things that we do proprietary, and so I think that would be the best fit for us.
Did you bring some samples? Okay.
And if that management team didn't work out, you do have an open market that we could market your business confidentially for sale. We do promote it on many different business for sale websites, so it's specific and it's confidential, which is key in selling a business. So we seek out strategic buyers to add another revenue stream to their business. We seek out your competitors. We seek out corporate, somebody who has that day-to-day job that wants to create something of their own or establish their own entity and their own future. So there's many different buyers out there.
Is it a hot market right now? I was, when we were talking, in the break before, I mentioned that I've been approached several times by buyers at this point. I've not seriously entertained anything, but I just feel like it must be a really hot market right now. And maybe it's just my industry.
No, it's a hot market we have the baby boomers who are looking to sell. We have businesses looking to grow, and it's hard to grow because they can't find employees. So now they're looking out to their competitors to bring in that capital of employees into their business. So it's a really great market right now for businesses.
So it's just a creative way of poaching employees? Is that what?
Well, yeah,
but
then you're growing, instead of organically, you're growing by acquisition. So instead of inching up, percentage by percentage, you can take a larger leap into your business growth by acquiring somebody.
Ah, interesting. Yeah. So have you looked at buying somebody?
No.
No.
I have my hands full. I have enough processes and things to do.
So when I think about getting ready for a 10-year out, and that's what everyone says to me, 10 years out is where the plan should begin. Start thinking then. And really, if you own a company, you should have a buy-sell agreement in place, a succession plan, at least some sort of intention if in case of an emergency. Mm-hmm. But as I think about preparing to retire in 10 years or so, redundancy is a word that I continue to come back to. So digital marketing, we're very technical in what I do. It's highly trained, specialized people. Many of the people that I have employed have higher ed and master's degrees and things like that. And so I think about losing key employees is something that's constantly on my mind. Does that matter to a buyer to have such key employees in place and not have redundancy in those roles?
I think it probably depends on the size of the company and the structure of the company, but key employees are huge for a buyer because they're coming in to take over the visionary aspect and maybe aren't the technical ones, or maybe they are the technical and need to have the support as well to take care of all your clients. So
I would agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To have an employment agreement at the sale is not unheard of. You want to retain those employees. They're the face, a lot of times the face to your customers as well, especially as you're trying to kind of let that go to some of your other employees, that you don't need to be that person all the time. Those are key people.
What does that look
Yes, yeah. You don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. So if you do, your value of your business goes down. So you want to make sure you have a diverse customer base when you're looking to sell a business. If you lose that one customer, the value of your business is no longer there. And that's a complication for any business, whether you're looking to sell or if you're still, trying to make a go of growing your business.
Contractual things, are they looking for long-term contracts? long-term relationships? What is that?
Yeah, long-term contracts, long-term relationships are great to have. You know, a business with a history is going to be important. If you start, 2 years and now you want to sell, I mean, you don't really have that history anymore, or you have never established that history, that longevity in the company, that brand history, and long-term customers. Contracts are really a great thing. Reoccurring revenue, that would be a wonderful option for a business to have.
Is there a process that's sort of regimented, checklisted out somewhere? I feel like we're talking about these really important things and they're sort of just floating out there. What do you give to people to have them? Here's the, if you're going to build a succession or a will, you fill out these forms. You know what I mean? What happens with the succession plan?
With succession planning, I think it's important to have a lot of advisors on your team. You can't know everything yourself, so you need to have a good attorney, financial advisor, accountant, even starting to build a relationship with a business broker, because you're working with them. You have to have that relationship to transition your business. You have to trust them. You have to know that they're guiding you in the right direction and able to work through the process. There's so much involved in selling a business. But again, to succession plan and get things in proper place, I think having those advisors on your side and just beginning the conversation. You wouldn't even think about half the things they'll bring up to you. So start that conversation today, whether you're in business for a year or for 5 years. Now's a good time.
Yeah, trusted advisors are really important. And even for our industry, we have multiple lawyers. We have one for just for the liquor license. So if you're in a highly regulated, you want to make sure you can get those licenses transferred if you need to.
Oh yeah, I would imagine highly regulated is an entirely
Right.
different ball game than retail or something like me with marketing. Brand and reputation, how does that play into the value of a company?
That's very important. Brand and reputation are important. Again, you don't want to, brand it as Lisa. You want to brand it as your company. So make it, again, bigger than yourself. People with online reviews these days, I mean, I have people who are interested in a company and then they go to their online profile or website or Google reviews and, they might see some stuff and that might deter them from even looking any further. So those are very important keys to look at when you're buying a business. Are you taking over something good or something that's not so great?
Yeah, actually, so you really should be thinking about succession planning the day that you even name your company. I remember when the first company that I owned had my name on it. And it's still the same company. We've changed the name, same federal tax ID. But when your name is on the door, if you're 35 years old, that is going to affect you in 30 years if you want to sell that company. Because your name is on the door and you're no longer at the company.
Yeah.
So you want to be thinking about branding, how much equity you as a person and a professional bring that has any value.
And if your name remained on that door, how comfortable would you really feel transitioning it to somebody when you have established that brand, but you're no longer there and they're representing you now as your buyer? So that's important on a sell side as well, to make it neutral, a neutral name.
Yeah, so there's these partnerships that are Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe, or all these different partners.
Yeah.
And the first 3 names on the door are no longer with the company. And there's certain industries where that's just
Acceptable,
legacy and it's
yeah.
very acceptable, but in most, it's probably not going to be helpful.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So what are other best practices that we should be thinking about?
From a sales side, I'm a business broker, so
Sure.
I sell businesses. I would say establishing a relationship with a business broker, meet with them, once a year to review financial statements. That way we can help you or guide you. Again, accountants are very important to meet with, but making sure that owner benefit or that cash flow, that EBITDA number is always growing, that your business is always growing, that you're diversified. There's just so many things we hear through meeting with buyers and sellers, or that we hear, through buyers and sellers, that we can help assist you with that. Confidentiality of a business sale is huge. You don't want your employees to get scared, and then now you have no employees to continue, your customers to leave. That's really important to keep it confidential, because really the transition at the end of the day will try to be as smooth as possible. So confidentiality is key when selling a business.
Jenny, has this been a positive experience moving through this for you?
Yes, it has been. For me, it's been self-sufficiency, and it's been really a good process.
Great. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. How can a technology company help with leaders as they are doing their succession plans?
So an IT company offers solutions and platforms that succession leaders, when they're getting ready to pass the baton, they need to know that they have a well-oiled machine and that the person that's grabbing the baton knows exactly what they're taking under them. So with technology, you offer solutions that allow them to document procedures and processes, build automation, which makes a smoother transition as that leadership role changes, and it allows you to follow kind of those processes that are then in place, and you can do reporting and ticket metrics and analytics to see where your leaders need to really grab the baton and take off with it, and where they can improve and take over the company and make their own mark on it and grow the business in that capacity.
So you're not talking about just an owner passing on a company. You're talking about a leadership role from anywhere in upper management. How far down the chain does this go?
All the way. So as soon as someone comes in, whether they're entry level or at the top of the chain, they need to know, what do I need to know? And that can come down to the policy, the written SOPs that they have on hand, and where do they have that information? How is that information updated and monitored to make sure it's accurate as the times change, as the innovation changes in their company? And so with an IT company, we allow that solution to be automized, and then it creates more efficiencies in place as well.
Automized. Talk to me more about that.
Automized is any time that we can take that human element and make it just a click of a button, and workflow rules go into place, such as communication, notifications, different things like that. That just makes it more efficient, and it makes sure that every box is checked.
I see. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Focus on Tech, brought to you by Providence, making technology easier.
Mary Chris, thank you for being here. I'm so excited to bring you. Today we're talking about succession planning, and what you want to start with before that plan begins is a strong business. And so the Convention and Visitors Bureaus will oftentimes provide business owners with a tremendous amount of resources. Can you tell us what those resources are?
Well, our mission at the Convention and Visitors Bureau here in Lansing is to bring visitors to the region, but in bringing those visitors to the region, we're also supporting our local businesses. So, but the local businesses in turn may want to do their own meeting or board of directors retreat or have a team building event. We can help with finding those resources for you.
So if I want to do something as big as a convention, let's say, for my industry, can I contact the Convention and Visitors Bureau?
Absolutely. We would love for you to contact the Visitors Bureau. So if you contact the Visitors Bureau, what we start out with, you would start out talking to one of our salespeople, and they would collect all the information that they need for the meeting or the event that you're looking to plan. We would send that information then out to all of our meeting venues and hotels, collect all the proposals for you, and then send them back to you, and then help you choose what venue works best for your group.
Well, I think on a large event scale, the logistics is always where the magic happens, and that's what feels really great when you get that right. It's just really seamless. So you pretty much are a free planning service for businesses.
Absolutely, absolutely, yes. And then what we do is I think of us as, I call myself the Lansing Connection. So there's a lot of times you don't know about all the different things that everybody does in town, but I can help you find that right fit for your business.
I'm going to hold you to that one. Thank you so much.
Focus on Banking, brought to you by Michigan Bankers Association.
We're looking for your stories, stories from owners of established businesses that have come through amazing adversity, or bucked the odds, or found the next big thing. If you have a story, we want to hear from you. Go to our website, and maybe we'll invite you onto the show. Denise, as an attorney, what is your advice as it relates to succession planning?
So a succession plan is more like which is just like a will for your business. And it's not something that you would personally skip over. So it's something that businesses really need to pay attention to. You're creating value, and you don't want that to just go away when you stop practicing or when you feel like retiring. You want to leave something. And in a lot of circumstances, especially if you're a licensed or a regulated profession, you're not only ethically required, but sometimes legally required to have that continuation of services for your clients after something maybe happens to you or after you want to retire. And that's something that you really need to think about putting in writing as soon as possible, because you're more valuable than you think even early on in your business. And as that value increases, it's not something that you want to leave until it's right on top of you. So it's as simple as doing what's called a buy-sell agreement, and that's a triggering event where another person would take over your clients and your service.
What do you see as the most common mistakes in succession planning?
Yeah. So in addition to not doing any, so it's really important to just get it done. I think a lot of people, because there are small businesses who have started sometimes from nothing, and those people who own it want to leave something for their families. You've created value, you've made this thing, it's almost like your child, and you want to leave that to the next generation. But I think it's really important, especially even with your spouse and when your children are old enough, to have the conversation about whether they're either capable, if they're not in the same licensed profession, or if they even want to run that business. They might not have any interest in it. So you need to make sure that if you're going to be in a situation where your family members are not going to be taking over the business for you, that you're creating in that buy-sell agreement circumstances where they will get paid for the business while somebody else takes it over.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Focus on Law, brought to you by Policella and Associates, PLLC.
We're looking for your stories, stories from owners of established businesses that have come through amazing adversity, or bucked the odds, or found the next big thing. If you have a story, we want to hear from you. Go to our website, and maybe we'll invite you onto the show.